Hey everyone, and welcome to the first video in our course. Well, I think I've changed a bit over the last 2 weeks, and of course our course is not going to be the same like what I thought it will be, but the whole spring will be quite different than what we thought it will be. But nevertheless, I want to continue the freedom course, and I hope you guys also want to continue it. And I would also love it when you comment on my courses or put your own material to it and so on. So there start some kind of discussion between us. But now let's come to today's subject. I have mentioned before how important I think it is to find your own voice in art. But even if I've mentioned it before, we never dealt with it in depth. So this is what I'm trying to do today. Well, first of all, I guess we can say that nowadays, at least in Western cultures, it is highly recommended and popular that you have your own distinct voice in art. It often looks like that this is the most important thing for an artist, to have your own genuine voice. And often also that with this own genuine voice you tell something new, you don't repeat only what has done before. Well, I just want to remind you, I think I mentioned it before in the course, that yes, at the moment this is more or less state of the art, but this is also a cultural invention which started around 1750, where the idea came that the artist has to be a genius and he has to create something which has never been before, and so on, and that there has to be invention, that art has to develop, like for example the economy or the technology develops. And all this also led in art to a phase of a lot of developments. What has happened, for example, in art during the last 100 years is incredible, the pace and the speed of the development. In Middle Ages, I think no one spoke so much about originality in art, that it has to be your own voice and that it has to develop somehow the art form you work with. As I mentioned before, in Asian culture we also find a strong tradition which actually says that a good artist is an artist who follows what has been done before him, who knows about the tradition and respects them. So, all in all, finding your own voice in art, it's not a simple concept. It sounds good, but we can criticize it as a cultural invention or construction, and we could also ask ourselves if this just leads to egoism or not. Now comes also the question that is it appropriate to speak about a subject, finding your own voice in art, in a freedom course? I mean, is finding your own voice in art somehow linked to freedom? I personally believe it is. And why do I believe it? Because I believe that when you find your own voice, you start to be more independent of the other actors on the fields of art. So you kind of free yourself what other artists are doing at the same time, and you not just merely copy them. Because I kind of believe that copying just doesn't really mean working in a free way. But at the same time, it's not, like I said before, it's not simple. Well, I'll check now for a second if this video recording actually works, and I'll back with you in a second. Okay, looks like it works. So far, so good. When I started to work in arts, I guess I was 16-year-old, and yes, I was very insecure. I was not sure how I should write and what kind of stories I should create and so on. So I did what I think most people who start working artistically do. I started to do the same than what the persons did, which I saw as authorities or exceptional examples of what is good work in art. So, for example, I loved Hemingway. I thought Hemingway writes great, and I thought I'm a good artist if I write like Hemingway. Well, didn't really work out. I recognized I couldn't write like Hemingway. Then I loved Kafka, and yeah, everyone said that Kafka is one of the biggest writers ever lived in the world. So yes, of course, I started to write like Franz Kafka, and I recognized, okay, I again have a big problem with it, because I can only be a very bad Kafka because I can't write the same way like he writes. Well, shouldn't really surprise me, because I am not Franz Kafka, as well everyone knows. So yes, I was very lost. For many years I tried to find my own way, and kind of didn't know really what to do. More or less, I found for myself a solution which helped me to find a way, and especially to free myself from the burden of all the stuff which has been done before, and also of the burden of all the great artists in which footsteps I wanted to follow. And it was a German writer who told me that I should start to find on my own voice. And then he said, Miles Davis' famous sentence, "Man, sometimes it takes a long time to sound like yourself." And from then on, I took as my objective that I should sound like myself. Well, it's a beautiful sentence, but it's still just a sentence, so it doesn't really give you any hint of what to do practically. And I will check again for 1 second how my Sony camera works, because I'm not very sure about it. Still works. Great. So, yes, I knew that I somehow want to find my own voice in art, but I didn't know yet how to do it. And then I came across J.D. Salinger's book, Seymour, An Introduction. J.D. Salinger's book, Seymour, An Introduction. In this book, there were the letters which Salinger's brother wrote to J.D. Salinger about life and about art in general. I mentioned this book before in the class, and I highly recommend it. In one of these letters, J.D. Salinger's brothers writes that he has the feeling that Salinger is not concentrating on what really is important for him, but he thinks about the readers, the audience, success, and so on. Like, for example, that Salinger thinks about what generally is funny and not what is funny for himself. From this, in this letter, the brother of Salinger comes to the following conclusion. He writes that, first of all, J.D. Salinger should remind himself of the fact that before he wrote, he was a reader. Before he went to the movies, he was a spectator. Before he started to write music, he was a spectator, and so on. And from this, the conclusion should be very easy. Salinger's brother write, think about what you would like to read most at this very moment, and then, when you have the answer, write it down. If you do so, you will follow your own voice. Write what you want to read yourself. Don't write what you think other people want to read. If we follow this idea, it means think about what kind of photographs you would like to see in an exhibition most. If you know and have an idea of what kind of photographs you want to see most, then just go and take them by selves. It doesn't matter what kind of schools there are right now in this world. It doesn't matter if minimalism, for example, is very famous in Scandinavia, or the Helsinki school and the idea of stage photography and so on. Or if you like drawing comics, just ask yourself what kind of comic you would like to read right now most, and then just draw it. This is the very simple solution that Salinger's brothers give, and I love it. Which means that I just start and think what I want to read, what I want to see, what I want to experience in art. And if I have an answer to it, then I do it. At least I'm honest to myself in this moment. Maybe it doesn't interest anyone. Maybe the things which are important for me are not important for anyone else. But at least I can give an honest answer to it, what I think is important. And maybe it is important for someone else too, maybe not. But this is something then what we can find out. And if what is important for me is not important for all the other people, that's okay also. Because that's just the rule of the game in this moment. A little bit the same says David Mamet in his famous book on directing film. I also recommend this book a lot. He says that if we think just generally what something means or how something feels like, it is only decoration. Like decoration, like you put some kind of pictures in your room or so on. He says also that decoration is never art. But if you think about how it feels for yourself, then it's not decoration, then it's art. So he means if you would write a script and there is a sad scene, your mission is that when you write it, it makes yourself to feel sad. If you write an erotic scene, then your mission is that it feels erotic for yourself. If you work like this, again, David Mamet says, you give honest answers, you are honest about what is sad for you, for your own personality, what is erotic for you, what is horrible for you, what is funny for you, and so on and so on. He personally also says that if it's not sad for you, how can you believe that it could be really sad for someone else? These two ideas, the ideas of Salinger's brothers and of David Mamet's thoughts, are personally for me one of the most important things which I know about art. Maybe these concepts only work for me, maybe they also work for others, but at least for me these are important concepts, and I would like to share them with you. Now I'll check again the camera. Still working. Great. Now, let's come also to the problems with this concept. Freedom means for me that you have a lot of options. This means also that your option doesn't has to be that you follow your own voice. You have also the option that you don't follow it. You have the option that, hey, Iron Man is cool, so I will make another Iron Man. I don't think about what it means to me, but I think about what it could feel for other people. Or, of course, I can have the option that, hey, I have seen really nice photographs. Actually, it's not my genre, but I just want to make them. And I think I will have success with them. So what I mean with it, there is the option that you work in art in a way that you try to find your own voice, but it can't be the only option. All the other options should be also there, and when you want to choose them, choose them. There shouldn't be a dogma, because there are so many dogma in arts that it's all about just finding your own voice. See it as one option, and as an option what you like sometimes or not like. And of course, we also have to wonder about it, that is this connected to extreme individualism or egoism? Does it mean that when people think about what he wants to read, what he wants to experience, and so on, that this will lead to a very individualistic attitude, which means also that you forget the rest of the people. This one, for example, could be very interesting if you comment this on my courses, if you think that concentrating on your own voice in art, if this at the same time mean that it leads to more egoism and more individualism or not. Personally, I don't see a contradiction between them. I see it more that when I'm honest to myself, then I'm actually also respecting the society. But let's see what you think about it. What I also would like to mention here, that finding your own voice in art for me doesn't mean that you do what you can do best. I don't think there has to be this incentive that every person has to do what he or she is good at. This was the way, if you know about the antique philosophers, Plato created his Politeia. He separated the polis into different groups, and these groups had different professions according to their special talent. So he said justice means that everyone does what he is best at, because at the end society will profit most from it, and this will lead to a just society. Personally, I'm scared about this idea. I think we should have the option that we do also the things we are not good at all. And that's the same in art. There's a lot of stuff where I'm not good at all. But for me, it's very very good experience to work with areas where I'm not good at it, because it somehow also takes the pressure away, because I don't expect myself to be good at, which makes the whole aspect really lovely. But now let's come to some tasks for you. First of all, when you have time, I would like you guys to sit down and just take a moment to think about yourself and what you are interested in. Now, first ask then yourself what kind of story you would right now like to read most. Then, if you have an answer to it, just write in bullet points, very shortly, just a few sentences, what kind of story it would be. Which means, in the end, the story you want to read most. Second, think about if the museums still would be open while they are not. But if you would go in this great museum, and you know it's just like this fantastic museum, what kind of pictures would you like to see them most there? And then if you have an answer to these, just in bullet points again, what would be in these pictures? Because probably, or maybe, these pictures are an honest answer on what your voice in art is. And last but not least, I think video art could be here quite interesting. There are a lot of people who have problems with video art. They think it's strange or so on, or too much contemporary, nothing happens, there is not the story, and so on. So start again, think about what kind of video art you would like to see most. What would touch you if you now